self-esteem, workplace-related topics.
Subscribe.
The Voices of Victory podcast show.
Voices of Victory.
Vision.
Voices of Victory.
Leadership.
Voices of Victory.
Workplace-related topics.
The Voices of Victory.
Voices of Victory. Voices of Victory. Voices of Victory.
It's time for the show. You are now listening to the Voices of Victory podcast show.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mario Di Leone.
Hello and welcome to the Voices of Victory podcast show. Today's episode, I decide my value, and you should too. So welcome to another episode of Voices of Victory, where we explore the principles that strengthen the human spirit. In today's episode, it is titled, I Decide My Value. It's going to rattle a lot of cages because this isn't just a catchy phrase. It's a declaration. It's a principle. It's a way of life. And here's the truth. You decide your value. I decide mine. The world doesn't get to define it unless you hand it out to the world on a silver platter, nor does anyone else's perception of me actually diminish it. But here's where it gets tricky. Others might not see your value. They might misunderstand it, or they may judge it based on their own framework, their own narratives, their own lens. So let's dive into why this happens and how understanding it could actually empower you. So let's talk about the very first principle, the self-determination concept. Self-determination is your foundation. It connects to psychology. And self-determination isn't just a concept, though. It's a cornerstone of personal power. It's about recognizing that you are in control of your narrative, that I decide my value because I understand myself better than anyone else. That's barring that you do understand yourself, getting to know who you are. When I say I choose my value, I'm taking responsibility for how I show up in the world, not for how others interpret me. Because people are just going to interpret you any old way. The world will always have its judgments, opinions, and assumptions, but their lenses are not my truth. And I mean that. That's really a strong statement. But here's the principle. This principle reminds us that our worth is intrinsic. Intrinsic means in. The first two letters is in. It's not granted by others, and it can't be diminished by their opinions, even though they'll try, right? That's what people do, is they try to destroy each other's values, especially on the internet. Now, others may not see your value. So if you're dating somebody, getting to know somebody, you're maybe even in a marriage for 30 years and they don't see your value. Like, that's possible. But we have to address a hard reality, is that not everyone will see your value, or they'll deliberately avoid seeing it as a form of control, or even lends itself over to narcissism in a very negative way. And some people simply lack the perspective to recognize it. And it's not personal. It's often a strong reflection of their own limits, their own limitations, their own understanding of who they are. For example, misalignment. Misalignment of values. This can happen in dating quite a bit. They may not value the same things as you. So if you value honesty, you value communication, you value authenticity, but they prioritize appearances or convenience, or they prioritize being an avoidant, your values won't align. There's blind spots. That's the thing. Everybody has a blind spot. Everybody has aversions. Their experiences, their biases, their beliefs, they act like filters, distorting how they perceive others. Got it? It's very important to understand that. So what's crucial to understand is that someone's inability to see your value doesn't erase it, doesn't take away your value. It only reveals the framework that they're using to assess the world, how they see the world, how they see others, the interpersonal perception, if you will. So here's the concept is, and this doesn't refer to courtroom judgment. This is reflecting on personal aspect. Judgment reflects the judge, not the judged. So another truth here is people will judge your value, but their judgment says more about them than it ever will you. And that's the thing. People are allowed to have their perceptions and opinions, and people get threatened when other people do. It threatens their ego. The lens through which they view you are shaped by their upbringing, shaped by their culture, shaped by their insecurities, and shaped by their preferences. So here's the big key. Is that when someone dismisses your worth, it's often because they're operating from a set of priorities, and those priorities are their own, not yours. And their judgment reflects their framework, not your reality, not you. See that? So this principle is very liberating because it allows you to detach from the external opinions and stay anchored in your self-determined value. And that is so crucial. And if you, by chance, if you're a man or a woman, doesn't matter, man or woman, if you're in a relationship or you're dating and your value is getting distorted by the other person, you have to stay very strong in your own self-concept and understand your own value, that you decide your value. Because some people, as a form of manipulation, may choose to not see your value as a form of manipulation, almost like being a narcissist, because a narcissistic attack could be aimed directly at the value of who you are. You understand what I'm saying? Like, that's so crucial. So crucial. And not many people are really going to talk about what I'm talking about here on today's show. So now, another concept is there could be mismatched value. Like if you are dating and there's just mismatched value, they just don't value the same things as you do. That could be a very big, strong sign that maybe it's not going to work out. They're not the right person for you. The values, you got to remember, mismatched values don't diminish yours. It really just shows that there's a mismatch. It's more neutral. It's not positive. It's not negative. It's just a mismatch. We don't see eye to eye on things, and that's fine. I may not be everybody's cup of tea, but I certainly could be their, cup of whiskey. So one of the most powerful realizations that you can have is that mismatched values are not a reflection of your worth just because you don't see eye to eye on certain things. And the thing is when you are getting to know somebody, it's like, help me understand. Okay, I understand you value X, I understand you value Y, but help me understand. And that's a very good communication phrase. You step into that bridge when you ask your partner, help me understand why it is you value that. And you don't have to say, like, I agree to disagree. No, say, I see it another way. Here's why. Here's why I see it another way. Okay, it's very important. So let's say you value creativity, but someone else values efficiency. To them, your creative approach might seem messy, might seem unimportant, or it might even be considered impractical. Does that mean your creativity has no value? Of course not. Absolutely not. It just means that they don't prioritize it in the same way. They don't hold value towards that. And that's something that's not necessarily a red flag, but it's a mismatch. And it's something you should take it into consideration, not into harsh judgment, but you could start considering as an idea. Because this mismatch, it doesn't invalidate your worth. Instead, it offers insight into the lens they use to evaluate the world. Let's be clear. The world doesn't decide your value either. It never has. The world operates through trends, projections, biases, and expectations, not truth. This is why when there's certain YouTube channels out there and the audience may have expectations, their expectation is, I want this, I need to see this, I visit your channel, I make your channel, I need to have. No. Here's the thing, is that your vibe is your tribe, that there's going to be people that vibe with you, and there's going to be people that see your value and they're on the same level. They're on the same level. And there's going to be people that are not. So if I were to diminish my value by changing my values for my audience, then I compromise my own values. I wind up compromising that. And I want to share that just to the other YouTubers out there or the other people. It's so important because the world operates through those trends, through those projections, through those biases, and of course expectations. They don't operate from truth. It rewards performance. The world rewards performance. All right. Some of the YouTubers, when people are visiting, it's like they get treated like a circus seal. Do the trick because I'm visiting your channel. You understand? And it's like what I decide that is my value on the show is I deliver information that is going to educate. That's what is my value. I decide that. Okay. And that's okay, and my vibe is my tribe. If there's people that, let's say, decide to bounce and decide to exit the channel, I could have 50 people exit one day and I could have 25 enter tomorrow. And that's the sort of thing that goes on. Should I cry? Should I be upset? Right? Some people would find that concerning. Like, oh, but you're losing people. No, you're going to gain people too. That's the thing. You're always going to lose and gain fans. Like if you take a look at all the major celebrities out there, they're always going to lose fans and gain fans. The loyal fans are the ones that keep coming back, because they enjoy what's there. But that's always going to to happen. It's always going to happen. So you got to remember, the world, it rewards performance. It rewards appearance. It rewards productivity and popularity. But your value isn't a variable in someone else's equation. It's not a vote. It's not a popularity contest. Your worth is not up for public appraisal. That really rattles some cages. Now, some people hear that and they think, ooh, well, yeah, isn't that narcissistic? Not at all. Narcissism is the inflation of self-worth at the expense of others. It demands admiration. It demands control. It demands superiority. But a healthy self-worth doesn't compare or compete. It simply exists as is. It's the quiet strength of knowing who you are without needing the world to clap. In fact, many people confuse confidence with arrogance because confidence can bleed into arrogance when it's out of control. But they've never been taught as to what's real, what's grounded, what real grounded self-worth actually looks like. They haven't been taught that. So they confuse the sharks for the guppies or the guppies for the sharks. They only know two extremes, self-rejection or self-inflation. But in between those two is sovereignty. Sovereignty is like you're ruling over aspects of your life. The ability to know your value without apology and without ego. This isn't about placing yourself above others. No, not at all. It's about no longer placing yourself beneath them, right? That's the thing. Because we can see each other's as equal, but I know my value. I decide my value. I know my worth. And that's important because perception is not reality. It's not reality. This is where it all comes together, okay? Just because someone doesn't see your value doesn't mean it isn't there. Just because they're perceptually unable to see it. Their perception is shaped by their own experiences. It's shaped by their own preferences. It's shaped by their own limitations. It's a snapshot of their reality, not yours. When you understand that concept, you gain the clarity, you gain the freedom. So the clarity to recognize when someone's judgment is based on their framework, not your intrinsic worth. You have to separate that. You have to separate that they have their framework. It's different than your intrinsic worth. So you have to have that freedom to walk away from people or situations that fail to value you or fail to appreciate you, and that's important. They may fail to appreciate you without questioning your value. So that's the thing. You have to have that freedom to walk away from those people and walk away from those situations. So there are practical concepts so you can actually move forward with this principle, is that you should anchor yourself in what's called self-determination theory. Every morning, remind yourself, I choose my value. It's not up for negotiation. Write it down, say it out loud, and carry it with you throughout the day. There will be people that just simply don't like the way you comb your hair. Just simply, you wake up in the morning and it's like you combed it a certain way, and they have all these judgments and all the lenses and narratives and the superficiality that they're going to see you with that, and they're just not going to like it. But you decide, like when you wake up in the morning, you decide at that point. You have to recognize the frameworks of other people. When someone is going to throw down judgment or misunderstand you, pause and ask, what lens are they using? This shows their lens. This shows me who they are. They've revealed their character. They've revealed who they are. And you can choose to set boundaries at that point. So what lens are they using? Because this very detachment allows you to see their perspectives without actually internalizing it. So you have to embrace the next concept, which is to embrace mismatched values. That you don't have to make it personal. Understand that differences in values don't diminish your worth. They simply highlight the diversity of human priorities, and celebrate that clarity, the clarity that it brings to your relationships. Because what happens to men and women who are maybe low self-esteem or insecure is they let their partner decide their value. And ask yourself that today. Am I in a relationship where I'm letting the other person decide my value? Am I dating somebody where I'm letting someone else decide my value? Make that decision. You get to choose. You have the free will to choose. You have that choice to surround yourself with aligned energy. And that aligned energy, it's not devoid of challenges. You're going to have people that challenge you. It's not devoid of challenges. Those challenges will create growth. I get it. But seek out people and environments that actually align with your values and uplift. While not everyone will see your worth, the right people will honor it. You have to be able to reaffirm your worth daily. Reflect on those strengths. Reflect on your achievements. Reflect on your contributions. Build an unshakable foundation of self-worth that's impervious to the nonsensical external opinions of the superficial world. You scare people. That's the thing. Like when you are strong in your self-concept, you will start to make people very afraid because it's It's like your light triggers their darkness, and that happens. So, closing thoughts for today. I decide my value. Here's the bottom line. You decide your value. I decide my value. You decide your value. The world may not always understand it. They may misjudge it. They may purposely misjudge it. They may purposely misunderstand it. They may outright reject it, but their perception doesn't define your reality. It defines their lens, their realities, their perceptions, their framework that they see the world. So when you wake up in the morning and you declare your worth and you stand in that, you take ownership of your life. You release the need for external validation. Because if you're dating somebody or in a relationship and you start to hand over your value to that other person, they can absolutely destroy and hurt you in a very painful way. So when you declare your worth, you take ownership, you reclaim your life back, you get your life back. You release the need for that external validation. You embrace the power of self-determination, and you step into the freedom of living authentically. So this might be your little mantra, right? My value is mine to define. Say it, believe it, live it, and absolutely know it. So thank you for joining me on this journey today. Until next time, remember, your worth isn't up for debate. And victory starts with the voice that's inside you. And this concludes today's Voices of Victory. Do me a favor, stay bold, stay true, stay humble, stay strong, balance the two, and always choose your value. Have a great day.